Looks like the live stream has commenced. Let's start the show. Welcome to Sharks Night Shift, although I guess in a different time zone, it's night. I mean, it's 8:11 p.m. It's not like late night, though. Early evening night shift. 4-1 loss for San Jose to Winnipeg. And if that final score depresses you, let me give you some other numbers that'll make you feel better. In Winnipeg today, it was a high of 34 degrees. It snowed. Tomorrow, it's going to be 29 degrees as a high, Fahrenheit. Saturday, 27 degrees. And by Sunday, it'll be down to a high of 24 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, enough of the Winterpeg conversation. The Jets scored in all three periods tonight. They were the better team. This was a 4-1 final score, and it looked like a 4-1 hockey game. Even with the empty netter thrown in there, I think it's been said a few times, I'm not the first to mention this, the Sharks looked a little bit gassed. And not so much in the first period, maybe outmatched in the first 5 minutes alone. The Jets had 2 or 3 opportunities right on the doorstep. Credit to James Reimer. He held them off. In fact, I think tonight, Reimer saw 33 shots, allowed 3 goals, so 30 saves. I don't think it was a bad performance for James Reimer at all. His team scored first. Winnipeg got all the next 4 goals, and it's as simple as that. I understand here the commentary, and I already see one of the comments here from Drew saying the refs need a trip to Lens Crafters. What a classic reference. Drew, you must be at least in your 30s. I feel like that was a thing in the 90s to say. But I also want to point it out right from the hop here. Sharks did not have a single power play opportunity tonight. Now, when I say it that way, some of you are going to hear this in 2 different ways. Some of you are going to hear that and say, well, the refs didn't give it to them, or the refs were, and they did miss a couple calls. There's no question. But at the same regard, if you're not playing a certain way, you're not drawing obvious penalties, you're not getting man advantage chances. And I think that was part of it too. Oh, Drew, confirmation. You're a young 33. See, I told you, I could tell you based on the Lens Crafters reference. But I think that was part of it. The Sharks took some penalties early on, both delay of game penalties. A couple pucks, Weatherby and Couture over the glass, one in the first, one in the second period. So Winnipeg had their chances 5-on-4. They didn't really do much there. They end up out shooting the Sharks 34-28. But Winnipeg in this game had all of the better looks. And I'll be honest with you, 1-1 after one period, the Sharks felt like they were fighting an uphill battle. So to keep the score there, they were in good position. Now, the game clearly got away from them in the middle frame, getting outscored by Winnipeg 2-0. But even at that point, second intermission, after 40, this is a Sharks team. Sorry, Drew, I'm leaving your comment up here the entire time. This is a Sharks team that, with 20 minutes down by 2, can come back. They can at least get 1 goal. They can at least make it interesting. I'm not here to harp on the Sharks of yesteryear over and over, but I think we all knew or knew in those years and know right now, looking back, the Sharks would unravel previously in a game like this. It would go from, being down 3-1 to Winnipeg scoring 2 more times in the final period and San Jose not having any opportunities or looks or chances. So big picture tonight was still one of the most lopsided losses we've seen by San Jose. I think 4-0 to Montreal was about as bad as it's gotten, and the Sharks just did not look in that game at all. I thought tonight they looked in it, just not enough and not for long enough. But there were some individual performances. I talked about Reimer. I don't think it was a bad game for him at all. Brent Burns almost had a 3rd straight 2-assist game. Burnsy had a pair of apples in the last 2. He fed Cogliano. He's the one who, I would say, created the turnover, but he executed the turnover by Winnipeg. Found Cogliano out front. He scores. Sharks up 1-0 early. He also fed Rudolph Spalsers on another stretch pass. For the 2nd straight game, Burnsy with his head up, making an unbelievably long, it was like a 3-line pass. or two line maybe, I guess, in this one. But just, amazing passing lately. And if Balcers buries that thing, two things happen. Sharks go up 2-1, and now Winnipeg's chasing it, and it's a totally different game. Maybe the Jets are still playing better, but they're not leading on the scoreboard. Instead, you get Winnipeg scoring all the next goals, and Balcers hit a post there. And we could talk about Balcers being a little bit snake-bit in just a second. I want to finish my thoughts here on Brent Burns. Through 13 games, 12 points. It's a great pace. 11 goals, 11 assists, and 1 goal. Come on, Brazil. And it's that ratio, which I think is noteworthy. A lot of people look at Brent Burns and say, oh, powerful shot, one-timer. You want to get him jumping in plays. You want to have him finishing off the play, scoring a goal. And he could still do that. He's made a career doing that. But that's not what's happening right now. Instead, it's his passing, it's his assisting, it's him being part of the offense. He's got 8 apples in his last 6 games, including tonight, and could have had 9 if Balcers buries that. So I want to point out, Brent Burns. Oh, and I see a comment on it here in just a second, which I'll get to. Brent Burns has continued to evolve his game defensively. I like his pairing with Mario Ferraro. I just think it works. And Mario is not entirely stay-at-home. That's kind of the stereotypical pairing that most people would think works, right? Burns the offensive, pair him with somebody who's defensive, and that's your pair. But Mario's been jumping in plays. They've both been playing heavy minutes during this era. And by the way, that's another huge topic to dive into. The era that just ended for the Sharks in 6 games. But yeah, Brent Burns to me, and I see this here on the chat. Stanley, Dubois, Morrissey played dirty and bullied the lightweight rookie squad. We need some heavyweights. But Burns is leading the team now. Best season of his career coming this year. I think what you're saying, Tony, is maybe since the Norris Trophy. And again, I know the Norris, crazy enough, is voted on by offensive production, even though it's for the best defenseman or best overall defenseman in the game. It just seems to work out that way. But I think if you're talking eye test, throw all the stats out the window. It's been a good year for Brent Burns so far, and lately, in the last 6, 8+ games, it's been a really good run for him. Speaking of the last, well, wait, how many is this? 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So speaking of the last 6 games for the Sharks, let's hope they never have to go through anything like this again. -7 players, minus their head coach, minus their head trainer, minus their equipment manager. And who knows when these 7 and Bob Bugner return on Saturday, like who knows how it's going to instantly click or work or what the team's going to look like. I mean, you've literally had a team in the Sharks play 13 games this season. Almost half of them, 6 of those 13, have been minus a third of the team's regular players. From an Erik Karlsson to a Vlasic to a Timo Meier and a Kevin Labanc and a Šimek and a Middleton. And I mean, you see how much of a setback this has been. That being said, it has been amazing what this team has put together in their absence. 3-2-1. And probably one of the losses of those 2 in regulation could have been, not tonight, but could have gone San Jose's way. And even, I think that was the St. Louis game, right? And how about the game against the Devils that turned into be an overtime loss, a shootout loss? You win the shootout, you're 4-2-0 during this 6-game span. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're that close to actually looking really good, all things considered. But more so than the results and more so than, statistics, I want to go to what we've seen this team fight adversity and actually shine in adversity. How about the Saturday 2 weeks ago where they literally found out that morning, hey, we need 7 players from the Barracuda, who, by the way, just played a game last night. Luckily, they're in town. Luckily, we can use these guys instantly. That was a lot to throw these young players in the mix. And a Nick Merkley called up. And a Ryan Merkley making his NHL debut. Didn't expect that to happen or, come that way. So, and I wonder, the young players who made such an impact in the first 2 games and the 2 wins and looking good, like you start to wonder now in reverse if maybe the young group has ran out of a little bit of gas, or that they've kind of plateaued now after these 6 games. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just here to say it's hard to get to the NHL. It's even harder to stay in this league. And I think that's what a lot of players, of a younger age group find out pretty quickly. So what's it going to be like, though, as this era officially and hopefully officially ends on Saturday in Denver? How many players jump right back in? Do you put all 7 back on the team? Do you put most of them there? Or are all of them ready to come back? I mean, that's the assumption. Teams are very secretive for obvious reasons in this league about personnel and health decisions and who's in, who's out, who's going to play. They don't want to give the opponent literally any advantage. And it's an Avs team that, by the way, is already going to be shorthanded, minus some key players, and they've been struggling too. But if you're the Sharks, you don't want to make this any easier on Colorado. And so there have been young players who have impressed. For example, I see the comment here by Chase. Would love to see Santeri Hatakka stick. I don't know how the decision-making process goes. Is it that easy? Just say, as we were. Or did some of the young guys earn ice time or extra games to be played? So I don't know, but I just want to turn back on this era, which, like I said before, is hopefully a one and done. Then the Sharks don't have to go through another COVID era again. You would think not. I mean, based on the odds of this happening to begin with. It seems relatively unlikely. And a couple other teams are in similar spots, maybe not to the degree of the Sharks. But to have a group that's entirely vaccinated go through this, it's certainly not impossible. We're not debating the possibility of it, just saying the likeliness of it to actually happen. And to all happen at once in that way. And hopefully the likeliness to not happen again. I think the group handled it pretty well. Not going to harp on this too much more, but, this little section of 6 games, 3-2-1, which could have been 4-2-0, it goes down as a statement for me. I'm glad it's over, but I also find it interesting in what we learned and how it played out. All right. I will take some time for the live chat here. And I know sometimes what I need to do is I need to take more questions so that more make this truly an interactive feedback. Chase, I see you here again. By the way, whose dog is that? Eating some In-N-Out burger. This looks like one happy dog. Excited to see Dahlin, Couture, and Timo get back to work. I totally agree. When Timo left the squad, he was their leading scorer. And Jonathan Dahlin's still sitting on 6 goals now through 13 games, but that's I'm pulling for him every single time out to get on the score sheet and add to the Calder conversation. I'm not saying he's even the front runner yet, and I know there's a couple other players who are tearing it up, specifically Raymond. But I want to see him just compete for that. Really like that young man. All right. Here's AJ's thoughts on the new guys. High altitude plus not playing for 2 weeks. The guys coming back will have it tough on Saturday. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to be cautiously optimistic about their return. I realize that you're happy to get the cavalry back, but at the same time, temper those expectations because that return and that many players, we're not talking about 1 or 2 guys back, 7 players, including what could be as many as 4 of your defensemen. And that's another thing too. You certainly wish the best for all these individuals as human beings, but you also don't get to choose what position of players that you lost in all of this. And the Sharks basically down 4 D-men. To me, that's the toughest position to break into this league, to come up, to to not get exposed early on. I mean, it's I look at the defensemen, Megna included, as having it the toughest. All right, let me see. And I like the way you put this here, Tim. Number 10, Merkley, solid. as opposed to number 6, Merkley. I mean, what are the chances there's 2 Merkleys on a hockey team, not related, not siblings? Good pass by Burns to Cogliano to put it in. Yeah, and that's the only goal that the Sharks got. You know, here's another thing that I wanted to bring up. We touched on it loosely on our postgame show. And by the way, we haven't even talked about the debut of Dan Boyle. Can I ask real quick for the live chat here? Some comments, some thoughts on Boiler. Can I get some reaction from you guys? and can I get it favorably, hopefully? No, be honest. I mean, I want to hear what you guys thought of Dan Boyle. And as we do it, I'll tell you what I saw from the other side. But before we get to Dan Boyle, let's get to Nick Bonino. Visibly frustrated in our post-game show tonight. After 13 games, not a single assist or goal to show for his stats this year. No points for Bonino in 13 games. 12 penalty minutes in 13 games, but no offensive production. In fact, they put him on Couture's line for the third period, instantly took a penalty. I mean, the frustration factor for an established veteran like that, it's got to be super high. And I say wanting to make a first impression with the Sharks. I mean, the Sharks drafted him, so technically his second tour of duty, but you know, wanting to really, with this group, have a good start. He's not getting that. And he said afterwards he feels like he's doing all the right things. It's just not working out. I certainly hope, and Cogliano got his second goal of the year. Certainly you could hope for more from both these guys. But I think it has really become apparent to Bonino that he's never had a time, and he said this, he's never had a time in his career like this, being this snake bit in terms of any type of offensive production. The Sharks are only going to be that much better when Nick Bonino is chipping in. And the good news is he's had a long and established career. You know that is going to happen. It's just a matter of when and where and how. How does he really fit in on this team? All right, let's talk a little Dan Boyle here. Where's the? Well, before we do that, Timo has a look in his eyes this year. He's focused on being a standout, consistent contributor. I agree. I really liked what I saw from Timo. I texted him the other day just to catch up. How you doing? Everything good? Seems like he physically through this didn't have any setbacks. So looking forward to, hopefully picking up where he left off. Tony says, Dan Boyle was intense and jumping out of his chair. Good energy. How about the part where Boyle said that he's not a believer in stretching? Who says that? Ooh, AJ. Boyle, way better than Brownie. Boyle, badass, straight shooter, no stretching. His first time on TV, he goes, you know what? 1,100 games, 18 years in the league, I never stretched once. Kids, don't listen to this. Okay, Tim. Brown all day, though. No, I know. We're not. Look, I love all my teammates. So lucky to have this set up. We're just glad to add to the team. Manny says, thinks the Sharks are ready for the big boys to come back. Boiler was good as always. Smart, well-spoken. Obviously knows what he's talking about. All without stretching, too. I don't think we should let him live this one down. I really don't. Phil says he was great. All he needs is a tailor. What the cut on the suit wasn't right. I honestly didn't take like a real in-depth look. I mean, I'm standing and sitting, next to him in the same room, but I didn't you guys probably spent more time looking at the screen and him than I did. So maybe that's it. Boiler was great. Not sure about the not stretching thing. Loved how Honor and Hetty chirped him early in the broadcast. Yeah, Alden, by the way, good to talk to you again for 2 straight nights. That clip is up on the channel here. So when you're done watching this, go watch Dan Boyle get chirped by Randy Hahn and Brett Hedican. Fernando, that is very kind of you. With Honor, Hetty, yours truly, Brownie, Drew, and now Dan Boyle. Again, this is a market where, you know, hockey players have come and gone, but we're so lucky that guys like Curtis and Dan and Mark Smith and Scott Hannon, that they live here, that we've been able to bring Drew back. Credit to the Sharks and credit to NBC for making that happen. Batman is Brazil. Robin's Brownie. Oh, Superman is Remenda. Shazam is Boyle. What? Is that Shaq? Wasn't that the Shaq movie, Shazam? Did I have that right? I'm sorry, I missed most of the 90s for whatever reason. Boyle's a legend. The Boiler. Oh, Boyle will stretch the truth in his comments. That's when we'll get Boyle stretching. I see what you did there. Hetty seemed like he muted himself a few times on the missed penalty calls. You know, that one that Hurdle got tripped up, so obvious to me. How was that not a call? Really? And you know what? Hetty is so classy. I think a lot of others would just lose it right there in the moment. Hetty's super classy. Drew, that's very kind of you. Sharks broadcast team is really world class. You've lived in 4 hockey markets, and the Sharks are on par with any other city. We appreciate that. And it starts with Randy Hahn. Randy Hahn has been doing it since literally day one. So it's a great example. Is a kind teammate, knows when to have fun. He's done some crazy stuff over the years. I like stuff that I didn't expect to come out of Randy's mouth on a broadcast. He's not afraid to surprise you once in a while. And don't forget Sones. I agree. Sonia Tydenko. I'm glad you didn't forget her, Alden. I did not. And I would regret that if I did. So, all right, I think that's going to do it here tonight for the Sharks Night Shift. I did a long live stream last night celebrating, by the way, thank you again for 10,000 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. 10,000! But as for tonight, that's the final buzzer. That's the end of the live stream. So, Sharks won the road trip opener 4-1 against Calgary. That one was convincing, right? Looked great. Tonight, looked middle of the road. It looked like a 3-1 loss. It turns out to be a 4-1 loss to Winnipeg. So now you get the Avs, you get Minnesota, you get St. Louis. Tough rest of this trip. Are the Sharks better off when they add these players? We'll find out. I know they'll be happy to have them back. Who wouldn't be? But how does it actually go starting on Saturday night? I got a lot of Sharks videos coming in the next couple days. Make sure you're subscribed. Also, if you're an A's fan, lots of that coming too. Until next time, everybody, be safe. And I will probably talk to you tomorrow or Saturday. Have a good night.